Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you, our curious learner, have ever thought about expanding a physical business footprint, you probably know exactly how daunting that really is.
Oh, absolutely. It's massive.
Right. Like if you own a brick and mortar shop and you decide, hey, I'm going to open a second location across the street, the barriers to entry are just undeniably tangible.
Yeah, you're dealing with the real world.
Exactly. You are signing a commercial lease, you're physically interviewing and hiring a totally new roster of staff,
Mm.
and you're buying a completely duplicated set of inventory to just sit on those new shelves.
And that physical friction is honestly a good thing.
You think so?
I do, yeah. Because that friction forces a business owner to pause.
Yeah.
They have to analyze the market and really run the numbers carefully because the upfront capital expenditure is just so high.
Right, the cost and the complexity are literally standing right in front of you.
Right.
But in the digital e-commerce landscape, that friction is just entirely gone.
Completely vanished.
We have this incredibly tempting, totally frictionless little button in our dashboards that just says, open a new store.
It's almost too easy.
It is. The psychological barrier vanishes, and it feels like, a simple technical task rather than a massive operational overhaul.
Which is a huge trap.
Exactly. And that brings us to today's topic. We are unpacking an incredibly detailed, it's a 21-minute architectural guide and operational playbook titled Shopify Multiple Stores: When, How, and What It Costs.
It's the fantastic resource.
It really is. And our mission today is to cut through all the platform hype and help you figure out if your business genuinely needs a second e-commerce store, or if you are about to, inadvertently double your workload for absolutely no strategic gain.
Which aligns perfectly with the core thesis of this playbook. I mean, the source makes a very grounded argument right off the bat.
Let's hear it.
It states that most failed multi-store setups are not technical failures at all. They are operational failures.
Interesting. So it's not about the software breaking.
Not usually, no. What happens is they result in two half-resourced brands competing for the same internal bandwidth and budget, rather than just having one strong, unified operation.
Ah, I see.
Expanding is fundamentally an operational decision, right? It's not just a software configuration.
Okay, so if the root of the issue is operational, we should probably start by defining what a second store is actually supposed to achieve.
Good place to start?
Because I've seen brands try to segment by demographic or by country, and they immediately just default to spinning up a totally new Shopify instance.
Yeah, and that default reaction is usually the very first major misstep a business makes.
Really?
Yeah. The source introduces this fundamental decision framework to stop that exact mistake. You have to ask yourself a very specific question.
Okay, what's the question?
Is this a region problem or is this a brand problem?
Region versus brand.
Exactly, because those two things require entirely different architectural solutions.
Okay, let me make sure I'm following. I'd imagine a region problem is just, a matter of localization.
Basically, yes.
Like, if I'm a US-based brand, but I'm suddenly getting a ton of traffic from the UK, I might think I want a dedicated UK storefront to keep the data clean, display prices in British pounds, and maybe use a targeted regional domain like a .co.uk.
And historically, you're right, operators built entirely new back-end stores for that exact reason. But today, the source emphatically points out that you don't need to do that.
What do you use instead?
Localized currencies, distinct regional domains, translated languages, all of that is efficiently solved by Shopify Markets.
Oh, right. Markets.
Yeah. Markets allows one single store to sell globally while keeping your inventory, your analytics, and your customer data totally unified on one single backend.
So the buyer sees a localized front end, but it's the same back end.
Exactly. It dynamically adjusts the front-end experience based on their IP address or chosen region, but your warehouse team is still just looking at one unified dashboard.
Oh, I see. It's like, okay, imagine a restaurant owner realizing they have a lot of Spanish-speaking tourists coming in.
Right.
You don't build a completely separate kitchen next door just to hand someone a menu in Spanish.
That would be ridiculous.
You just translate the menu and cook the food of your original kitchen.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. You only want to incur the overhead of a second, completely separate store if you are dealing with a genuinely distinct brand problem.
Okay, so define a brand problem for me.
That means you have genuinely different brand identities. Or, say, you are running B2B wholesale at a massive scale where the catalog and the pricing tiers need total isolation.
Oh, sure.
Or perhaps you just acquired a competitor and you need to maintain their legacy systems independently from your own.
Okay, but let's look at the middle ground for a second. What if I just want to test a new niche?
This comes up a lot.
Right. Say my core brand is doing really well, but I want to take a subset of my existing catalog and market it to a totally different, highly specific demographic.
Okay, I see where you're going.
From a marketing perspective, an isolated, hyper-targeted storefront sounds like the cleanest way to run that experiment.
Well, it sounds clean to the marketing team, sure, but it is an absolute nightmare for the operations team.
Really? Why is that?
The source actually provides a very specific numerical threshold for this exact scenario. It says you need to map your product overlap.
Product overlap.
Yes. If your proposed second store is going to share more than 70% of its SKUs with your primary store, you are practically guaranteeing inventory and fulfillment pain.
Wow, 70%. So a 70% overlap means you're essentially just mirroring your existing business under a slightly different logo.
Exactly. You're just competing with yourself. If the SKUs overlap is less than 30%, the operational case for a distinct storefront becomes a lot more defensible.
Makes sense.
But if you are hovering in that 70 to 100% overlap zone just to, test a niche, the source advises using a dedicated landing page, a distinct collection, or even advanced customer tagging on your existing store.
So keep it in the same house.
Yes, launching an entire secondary infrastructure just to run a marketing test fundamentally misunderstands what a store actually is.
That leads perfectly into the architecture itself, actually. Let's assume the math clears.
Okay.
We're doing it.
Right. We have a genuinely distinct brand concept. Our SKU overlap is well under 30%, and we legitimately need this second store.
You're ready to build.
Yeah. But we tend to view a new store as just a fresh theme and a new logo. But this playbook breaks it down into an entire operational iceberg.
The storefront is really just the tip of that iceberg.
Mm.
Below the waterline, the source identifies 6 distinct architectural layers to any multi-store setup.
Yes, layers.
Yep. Storefronts, inventory, customers, payments and tax, analytics, and finally, apps and ops.
That is a lot to manage.
It is. And the critical operational reality here is that each of these 6 layers operates in total isolation.
Wait, total isolation?
Total. They do not communicate with each other unless you manually engineer a connection.
Oh, wow. I think that's where the platform illusion really catches people. Because, both stores are billed to the exact same corporate credit card. There's this assumption that the back-end infrastructure is just naturally shared.
It's a very common assumption.
But if I'm hearing you correctly, a customer who buys a product from brand A doesn't even exist in the database for brand B.
They are essentially a ghost to brand B.
A ghost. That's wild.
Customer records, order histories, email subscriber statuses, even the shop app tracking, it's all completely isolated per Shopify instance.
So if I want to cross-sell to them.
If your grand strategy relies on cross-pollinating those audiences, you have to actively wire both stores into a centralized CRM or an email platform like Klaviyo and set up complex routing rules from day one.
That sounds complicated. And I assume the isolation applies to the legal and financial layers as well.
Oh, heavily. Because if these are separate instances, we aren't just talking about, isolated Google Analytics. We're talking about entirely separate merchant account.
Which means separate taxes?
Exactly. Each store requires its own Shopify payments gateway setup. That means your tax nexuses multiply.
Ugh, the paperwork.
Right. From an accounting perspective, if you are operating in the U.S., your 1099-K reporting just multiplied. You are now reconciling 2 entirely separate streams of revenue, chargebacks, and gateway fees at the end of every single month.
Okay, let's talk about the domains for a second, because I've seen brands try to hack this part.
The subfolder trick.
Yes, they'll try to host the second brand on a subfolder of their primary domain just to consolidate the DNS management, like branda.com/brandb.
The playbook strongly advises against doing that.
Why is that?
You need clean, distinct root domains for separate brands. A subfolder setup for a completely different brand identity just confuses search engine crawlers.
SEO, nightmare.
Huge nightmare. And it creates massive headaches for tracking pixels and analytics attribution, too.
Okay, which brings us to the actual human beings managing all these isolated layers.
The team.
Yeah, if the systems don't talk, the staff has to bridge the gap. Can I just use my existing admin login to manage both stores?
You can use a single Shopify ID to toggle between the stores, which is convenient. But the source flags staff permissions as a major, major vulnerability.
Right.
Because the quickest way to set up a new store is to just mirror the admin access, basically giving everyone who has access to store A the exact same administrative permissions on store B.
Oh, I can see the risk there already.
It happens all the time.
Imagine a junior merchandiser logs in, they think they're updating a flash sale price for brand A, but they haven't checked which instance they're toggled into, and they just wiped out the pricing structure for brand B.
That exact scenario, the wrong store CU edit, is the #1 cause of internal data loss in multi-store setups.
Number one.
Yep. The playbook insists that you must invite team members individually to the new instance and assign them explicit, strictly necessary roles.
So no blanket permissions.
No. You have to build friction into the administrative access to prevent those honest but very high-speed mistakes.
Okay, so if we are meticulously duplicating domains, gateways, and admin access, we have to look at the software stack. Because the base subscription for a Shopify platform isn't the real cost here, is it?
Not at all. If you look at just the raw subscription tier, running 2 or 3 independent basic Shopify stores is incredibly affordable.
But we're talking $100.
Yeah, you might be looking at roughly $78 to $117 a month total. It looks like a rounding error on a P&L.
Right.
But the source refers to this as the money trap.
The trap being the app ecosystem.
Precisely. That base subscription gives you the chassis, but the operational engine is built on third-party apps.
Ah, right, at the add-ons.
Think about your product review aggregator, your customer service help desk, your advanced page builders, subscription billing tools. Virtually all of these operate on a per-store billing model.
So they double.
Instantly. When you open Store B, your monthly software overhead instantly doubles.
I look at that app load, and my mind immediately goes to the enterprise tier.
Yeah.
Shopify Plus is famous for its multi-store capabilities, right?
It is, yeah.
The standard sales pitch always highlights that you get 9 free expansion stores.
9 free stores. Sounds great.
It does. So if I'm an operator looking to scale a portfolio of brands, why wouldn't I just upgrade to Plus, utilize those expansion slots, and bypass all these per-store base fees?
This is one of the most critical misconceptions the playbook addresses. Let's break down the actual math and the contractual reality of Shopify Plus.
Okay, lay it on me.
At approximately $2,300 a month, upgrading to Plus solely to access those free expansion stores is mathematically inefficient.
Unless you have a lot of stores.
Exactly, unless you are otherwise running 4 or more highly active, independent standard stores.
So if I only need one secondary storefront, upgrading to a $2,300 monthly contract is severe overkill.
It's massive overkill. But beyond the math, there is a contractual catch that catches many merchants completely off guard.
A catch, what is it?
Those 9 free expansion stores included in a standard Plus agreement. They are strictly pre-approved for same brand use cases only.
Wait, same brand. Define same brand use cases. Because if I launch a completely new clothing line under a new name, that feels like a distinct brand to me.
And Shopify would likely agree that it is a distinct brand.
So it's not covered.
Usually no. The pre-approved expansion slots are intended for things like an international version of your primary brand, an internal employee discount store, or a dedicated B2B wholesale portal for your core products.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you try to spin up a genuinely different brand with a different name, a different logo, and a distinct public identity, it is not automatically covered.
That is a huge caveat.
It requires special approval from Shopify and will often incur additional monthly fees on top of your Plus contract.
That completely changes the calculus. You could sign an enterprise contract thinking you've just secured a sandbox for 9 different business ideas, only to find out you're violating the terms of service if you actually try to launch them.
Exactly. Which is why the source provides a ruthless financial heuristic for anyone considering a second store, regardless of their subscription tier.
What's the rule?
It's called the 1.5x rule.
1.5x rule. Okay.
Before you build the store, project 6 months of revenue for it based on a very conservative conversion rate. If that new store cannot realistically project covering 1.5 times the cost of its own base subscription, its duplicated app stack, and the extra operational labor required to run it,
You don't do it.
you postpone the project, period.
The 1.5x rule. That is a fantastic operational filter.
It keeps you grounded.
Right. Okay, let's assume a business passes that stress test. The financials make sense. But eventually, the digital order has to translate into a physical box moving out of a warehouse.
Back to the physical world.
Exactly. If the back-end layers are completely isolated, as we established earlier, how do we keep the physical inventory from just imploding?
This is where the theoretical architecture meets physical reality, because inventory does not sync natively between isolated Shopify stores. An unaided operations team will see their order processing throughput just absolutely plummet.
How bad is it?
The source estimates throughput is roughly cut in half when a second desynced store is introduced.
Wow, cut in half. Okay, earlier I used the analogy of a restaurant. This sounds like we have two chefs working in the same kitchen, pulling ingredients from the exact same fridge.
It is, but to make that analogy accurate to a desynced Shopify setup, you'd have to blindfold both chefs.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Neither of them knows what the other just pulled from the shelf. If you are processing over 100 orders a day combined, even a 30-minute delay in manual inventory syncing guarantees that you will sell stock you don't physically have.
You're selling ghost inventory.
Exactly.
And then you are hit with the cascading effects. Processing refunds, managing angry customer service tickets, taking hits to your brand reputation. Clearly, manual updates aren't viable.
Not at all.
So what are the actual infrastructural fixes to connect the fridge?
Well, manual updates, like a Friday afternoon spreadsheet upload, are explicitly called out as a critical failure point. You have to implement an automated syncing middleware.
Middleware, okay.
The playbook categorizes the solutions based on the complexity of your sales channels.
Let's walk through those tiers. What if my operations are heavily multi-channel? Like I'm on Shopify, but I'm also moving high volume on Amazon and eBay.
For a broad ecosystem like that, the source recommends an app called Trunk.
Trunk.
Yeah. Trunk is specifically engineered to sit above all those platforms, not just Shopify, and centralize the master inventory count, pushing real-time updates down to every node, whether it's an Amazon marketplace or your second Shopify store.
Okay, makes sense. But what if my inventory is entirely dictated by a third-party supplier? Say I'm dropshipping, or my manufacturer pushes an FTP feed to my server every morning.
Then you are looking at an app called StockSync.
StockSync.
Right. Its primary strength isn't just platform-to-platform communication. It's designed to parse complex external data feeds like sprawling XML or CSV files from legacy suppliers and translate that data into accurate stock levels across your Shopify instances.
That's super useful. And what if I'm keeping it simple? No Amazon, no complex supplier feeds. Just pure Shopify to Shopify syncing for two distinct brands sharing a warehouse.
For pure Shopify to Shopify environments, apps like Syncio or Multi-Store Sync Power are the standard.
How do they work?
They leverage webhooks to instantly adjust the stock on Store B the millisecond an order is placed on Store A.
Okay, that handles the middle tier. What about the true high-volume operators? If a brand is pushing, 500 or 1,000 orders a day, relying on heavy ERP systems like NetSuite, do these off-the-shelf apps still hold up?
At that volume, the source actually advises against off-the-shelf apps.
Really? Wow.
Because when you are moving hundreds of orders a day through a massive 3PL or a complex ERP, you are dealing with strict API rate limits and highly specific routing logic.
So the standard apps just break?
Pretty much. At that tier, you generally need to commission a custom integration using the Shopify admin API. It requires significant upfront engineering, but generic middleware simply cannot handle the edge cases safely at that scale.
Got it. So the warehouse is automated, the apps are audited, and the stores are live. Let's pivot to the customer-facing side, specifically how search engines view this setup. Yeah. A common anxiety among operators is that if you own two distinct brands selling very similar products, Google will penalize both domains for duplicate content.
It's a very common fear, yes. But the expert consensus in the playbook clarifies a subtle but really important distinction.
Which is?
Google does not explicitly penalize you just for owning multiple brands. The search algorithm has absolutely no interest in your corporate holding structure.
Well, that's reassuring. But there has to be a catch regarding the actual content on the pages, right?
There is. The catch is content cannibalization.
Cannibalization.
Yes. If both of your stores carry the exact same underlying SKU, you absolutely cannot just copy and paste the product description, the meta tags, and the alt text from Store A onto Store B.
Because at that point, you aren't just competing against your rivals. You've engineered a scenario where your two internal brands are fighting each other for the exact same organic search keywords.
Precisely. If the audiences are truly distinct, which, remember, is the only reason you should have built the second store in the first place, your copy must reflect that.
You have to rewrite everything.
You do. You have to write one canonical description for your primary store and then entirely adapt the framing, the tone, and the long-tail keywords for the specific demographic of the second store.
Okay, what about cross-linking? Is there an SEO benefit to creating a network between the two stores? Like Say, putting a visit our sister brand link in the footer of every single page.
The playbook is very clear on this. Avoid footer cross-link farms.
Really? No footer links.
Do not interlink the sites just to artificially pass domain authority back and forth. Google sees right through that.
Yeah.
You should only link store A to store B when there is genuine logical buyer intent.
Give me an example.
For example, placing a clear wholesale buyers apply here button on your retail site that directs traffic to your dedicated B2B store. That makes structural sense to a search engine, and more importantly, it makes sense to the human user.
Okay, I have to ask about the worst case scenario. Let's say an operator goes down this path. They ignored the 1.5x rule. Their ski overlap crept up from 30% to maybe 80%, and now they're just drowning in operational chaos.
It happens.
The experiment failed.
Yeah.
How do they retreat and consolidate back to a single store without completely destroying the business?
It is a harsh reality, but you're right, it happens frequently. But realizing that one highly focused brand is vastly more profitable than two thinly resourced brands is a sign of true operational maturity.
So how do you undo it?
The playbook outlines a very rigorous consolidation strategy to execute that retreat gracefully.
Walk us through the mechanics of that consolidation. Where do you even start?
First, you have to choose a survivor.
A survivor? Sounds dramatic.
It is a bit. You evaluate both properties and select the store with the strongest historical SEO footprint and the cleanest product data architecture.
That makes sense. Keep the strongest foundation intact.
Exactly. It is always more efficient to migrate assets into a well-structured database than to try and untangle a messy one after a merge.
I assume the actual migration is just a heavy CSV export process.
It is. You map your meta fields and merge your catalogs and customer records via CSV imports. But, and this is big, there's a massive operational blind spot here.
What's the blind spot?
Customer passwords do not carry over during a CSV migration.
Oh, because of security protocols. The passwords are cryptographically salted and hashed, so Shopify can't just hand them to you in a plain text spreadsheet.
Exactly right. This means every single customer who had an active account on the store you're shutting down will suddenly be completely locked out of the surviving store.
That is terrible for retention. How do you fix that?
You have to anticipate it by designing a specific automated reconfirmation email campaign that prompts those migrated users to reset their passwords on the new unified domain.
That is a crucial detail. What about the legacy URLs? If the old store has been live for a year, it has backlinks, maybe Pinterest pins, and indexed Google pages. How do we preserve that equity?
This is the single most important technical step of the entire consolidation. You must build a comprehensive 301 redirect map.
301 redirects.
Yes. Every single indexed URL from the closing store must be permanently redirected to the most relevant equivalent page on the surviving store.
So if a customer clicks a year-old link on an external blog for a specific jacket on the dead store,
they are seamlessly, silently routed to that exact same jacket on the surviving store.
Seamlessly.
Seamlessly. If you fail to map those redirects, you will hit your users with 404 error pages, and you will lose months, potentially years, of hard-earned organic traffic overnight.
Ouch.
Furthermore, the source dictates that you must keep the legacy domain active,
Like paying the fee.
paying the renewal fee and pointing to those redirects for a minimum of 12 months.
12 months. Why that specific time frame?
Because it takes time for search engine crawlers to fully process the permanent move, drop the old URLs from their index, and transfer the ranking authority to the new domain. If you let the old domain expire after 3 months, you sever that connection before the transfer is complete.
Wow. The sheer mechanical weight of that retreat really puts the initial decision into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you think twice before clicking that button.
To summarize the critical insights we've unpacked today for you, expand your reach, not your backend. Use Shopify Markets to solve regional and language problems.
Right.
If you absolutely must launch a distinct brand, audit your app stack to avoid the duplication money trap, run that 1.5x revenue rule, and never share inventory across isolated systems without an automated syncing middleware to protect your throughput.
You know, if we step back and look at the broader implications of this playbook, I think there's a profound philosophical question here for any operator.
Oh, I'm listening.
You have to analyze your own motivations.
What do you mean?
Are you craving a second store because the market is genuinely demanding a new, distinct brand entity? Or are you simply chasing the dopamine hit of a new launch because it serves as a distraction from the much harder, unglamorous reality of scaling the single store you already own?
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant point.
That happens a lot.
It really forces a founder to decide what kind of business they are actually running. Because the moment you spin up a second, isolated operation, you are no longer just a product designer or a marketer building an audience.
Your role changes entirely.
You are stepping into the multiverse of brand management. You are essentially operating like a holding company CEO, managing multiple distinct P&Ls, navigating disparate software stacks, and allocating capital across competing divisions.
Which is fundamentally private equity work, not creative work.
Exactly. And you have to decide if that is the job you actually want.
Absolutely.
A perfect thought to leave off on. Because as we've seen today, clicking that digital Open New Store button is utterly frictionless. But running that second kitchen across the street is a daily operational grind. Sometimes the most profitable, most strategic technical decision you could possibly make is deciding not to build anything new at all. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive, curious learners. We will catch you on the next one.